Single dad CEO hires maid as fake girlfriend at 3 a.m. You won't believe who he falls for. The clock struck 3, a haunting chime piercing the stillness of a moonlit night. In the lavish penthouse that loomed over the city like a grand fortress, Alex Carter, a single dad and CEO, sat hunched over his cluttered desk, the weight of the world bearing down on him. He was facing a mountain of paperwork, but tonight, he wasn't just fighting deadlines. Tonight, he was wrestling with the aching loneliness that wrapped around him like a cold blanket. His heart thumped painfully in his chest, every beat screaming out for connection. But here's the kicker. In a moment of reckless desperation, he decided to hire a maid. Not just any maid, someone who could pretend to be his girlfriend for an evening event he couldn't escape. As he clicked through profiles at that ungodly hour, the faces blurred together, a parade of hopeful smiles under flickering lights. But there she was, Maria, with fiery auburn hair that cascaded like a waterfall and emerald eyes that glowed like jewels. She didn't just catch his eye. She snatched his breath away. Her profile read like a mystery. None of her friends seemed to know her well, and she had 0 reviews. It screamed danger. Was she too good to be true? As he hit send, a shiver danced down his spine, a wild thrill mixed with dread. What had he just done? An inner voice warned him of the risks. Yet the thought of filling the empty seat at dinner with someone who could pretend to care was too tempting. What if she brought chaos into his perfectly curated life? What if the plan unraveled and revealed the jagged edges of his reality? The air felt electric with possibilities and dangers. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The next day arrived with a tumultuous mix of excitement and anxiety. Alex's pulse quickened as he prepared for the charade. Worry gnawed at him. What if she couldn't pull it off? What if people saw through the facade? Rushing home, he pushed open the door, and there she stood, Maria, a whirlwind of energy and quirks that filled the room with an intoxicating blend of chaos and charm. She grinned, and in that moment, something shifted in the air. Was he falling for her already? But before he could unpack his feelings, the doorbell rang. Each chime echoed ominously in the spacious foyer, foretelling secrets that lay just out of sight. As he opened the door, a chilling gust blew in, carrying with it whispers of unfinished conversations and the weight of unknown revelations. Who was this girl really? And what was lurking in the shadows of their make-believe romance? Alex hesitated at the door, his heart racing as he braced himself for the unexpected. Behind him, Maria was a flurry of motion, her instincts sharp. "Are you going to get that?" she asked, her voice laced with a mix of curiosity and caution as he pulled the door open wider. Standing there was a tall figure draped in a dark coat, the stark contrast against the bustling city lights. It was his business partner, Dan, and for a split second, Alex's pulse pounded in his ears. Dan's eyes darted over Alex before landing on Maria, studying her with not just curiosity, but a hint of suspicion. "Hey, sorry to drop by unannounced," Dan said, his voice heavy with a seriousness that sent shivers down Alex's spine. "We need to talk about the merger." "It can't wait." "What merger?" Maria interjected, stepping slightly forward, her enthusiasm fading and replaced by a protective instinct. "Maybe you should schedule a proper meeting?" "Maria, this is Dan." Alex started, but his words fell flat. Dan's eyebrows shot up, clouded with uncertainty as he regarded her. The tension was palpable. Alex cleared his throat, trying to reassert control. "How about we take this inside?" He could feel the heat rising in his cheeks. He was clutching onto a fragile facade. One slip, and it could all crumble. Dan stepped into the foyer, glancing around at the luxurious decor as if deciphering what the differences meant. "Nice place." His tone suggested he suspected it was all a show. Maria leaned closer to Alex. "Should I go?" she whispered, urgency filtering through her words. Panic twisted in his gut. "No." She'd been the perfect distraction, a way to escape the weight of his reality, even if just for one night. No, stay, he said, his voice firm but unsure. They trailed into the living room, a vast space filled with art and city skyline views. But it felt smaller now, suffocating under the scrutiny of Dan's gaze. Maria held herself confidently, but Alex caught the glimmer of doubt in her eyes. Alex, Dan started, pulling out a document from his coat pocket, his tone dropping to a whisper as the weight of the conversation shifted. There are whispers about our plans at the office. Someone's not happy. The merger's not in jeopardy, Alex said, aimed at reassuring himself as much as Dan. We're fine. Are we? Dan's voice had morphed into a predator-esque growl, each syllable dripping with distrust. You've got a lot on your plate. And he eyed Maria again, this time more penetratingly. Who exactly is she? Before Alex could respond, Maria spoke up, her voice unwavering, cutting through the tension. I'm just helping Alex with some home organization. He has a lot going on, you know? A busy CEO and a single dad. She forced a laugh, and Alex marveled at how she wore a brave face. But they both knew this was a pivotal moment. Right? Dan's eyes narrowed, calculating. Well, in any case, we need to tread carefully. If word gets out about our discussions, nothing's getting out, Alex interrupted, his voice rising involuntarily, coating their cozy space with a sharp tension. He felt a fierce protectiveness bubble inside him, not just for his business, but for Maria too. How had he already come to care so much about her? But then, Dan's phone buzzed in his pocket, breaking the moment. He staggered back a step, mumbling an apology, eyes darting between the two. We'll continue this later. Just be careful. As he left, Maria turned to Alex. Worry etched across her face. What just happened? I don't know, he admitted, a lump forming in his throat. But I think I might have just dragged you into a bigger mess than we bargained for. An unspoken understanding blossomed between them, but just as Alex was about to delve deeper, yet another thrum of urgency pierced through the silence. His phone vibrated on the counter. He picked it up and froze. The caller ID flashed an unexpected name, the last person he wanted to hear from right now. His ex-wife. That was the last thing he needed, and yet the grip of uncertainty pulled tighter around him. What was about to unfold would change everything. Alex's heart raced as he stared at the screen. His ex-wife, Lauren, had a way of sending his thoughts spiraling into chaos with just her name. He could feel Maria's gaze on him, heavy with concern. Are you going to answer it? She asked, her eyes narrowing slightly as tension hummed in the air that he hesitated, torn between dread and duty. If anyone knew how to push him to the edge, it was Lauren. But did he really want to ignore her? Yeah, I should, but the words felt like a heavy weight in his throat. The phone vibrated again, a reminder that she wasn't going to wait. He pressed the green button, steeling himself as he raised the phone to his ear. Alex, Lauren's voice came through, cool and calculating. We need to discuss Lily. I have some big things happening, and I need you to be more involved. His stomach twisted. Now isn't a good time, Lauren. No. Now is exactly the time. She cut in, each word clipped. I'm making some changes. I need you to step up. We can't keep co-parenting like this. Changes? The word hung ominously in the air, the reality of their situation crashing over him like a cold wave. What kinds of changes? It's not what you think. The edge in her tone shifted to something almost pleading. But I'm not telling you if you want to even meet me halfway. Alex glanced at Maria, whose expression had shifted to one of shock, then concern. She stepped to the side, trying to give him space, but he felt every fiber of her awareness wrapped around him, forming a protective shield. All right, I'll listen. But what do you want? I'll explain over dinner. Just the three of us, with Lily. Can you do that? His gut twisted at the thought. Dinner with Lauren was never just dinner. It was a rehearsed play of appearances, filled with unsaid words and lingering resentments. But Lily was his priority. Fine. When? Tomorrow night. 7, she stated. No room for negotiation. Fine. He hung up, his heart pounding. The phone slipped from his fingers onto the counter. Alex Maria's voice cut through the haze. Are you okay? No. The answer came out more raw than he anticipated, primal and honest. It's the last thing I need right now. Just breathe, she said softly, stepping closer. Lily? She's your daughter, right? Yeah. He rubbed his temples, trying to ward off the headache forming. And she's the best part of my life. But dealing with Lauren? It's a minefield. Maria regarded him with a newfound intensity. You don't have to face it alone. The weight of her words settled over him. There was a thoroughness in her gaze, a kind of unfurling connection that made it hard to breathe. But he quickly pushed that thought away. With everything escalating, now wasn't the time for distractions, no matter how appealing. Thanks, but I'll handle it, he replied, trying to mask the emotion fluttering in his belly. Just then, there was a knock at the door. Alex's pulse quickened again. Not another visitor, he muttered. He moved to open it, hesitant, almost reluctant. But as he pulled the door back, he was met with a sight that made his heart drop. A woman stood there, one he recognized instantly, a former employee from the office, and her eyes were wild, filled with panic. Alex, I need to talk to you urgently. What was happening? Alex's mind raced as he processed the unfolding chaos around him. Each moment layered like a specter looming over their heads, twisting the very air they breathed. There was a sudden surge of dread coursing through him, an instinctual recognition that everything was about to spiral out of control. Please, come in, he said, stepping aside, but uncertainty gripped him like a vice. What had he just invited into his home again? As the door closed behind her, Alex realized they were all entangled in something much larger than the merger, something darker and more dangerous. What grim secrets would unravel next? The moment the door clicked shut, the atmosphere shifted, thickening with an electric tension. Alex could feel it coursing through his veins, the remnants of chaos looming just out of sight. The woman in front of him looked like she'd been running, her eyes wide and darting as if the shadows of the night were lurking just outside. Calm down, he urged, holding up a hand, the concern spiking through his chest. Take a breath. What is going on? The former employee, Jenna, rubbed her arms as if to ward off an invisible chill. Alex, it's about the merger. There is something you need to know, something I heard at the office. He gestured for her to sit at the kitchen table, while Maria hovered close by, her worry palpable. What about the merger? Is it something about our offer? No, she stammered, panic flickering in her gaze. It's about Lauren. I overheard some conversations she's involved in something big, something dangerous. His pulse hitched. What do you mean? Dangerous how? Just listen, Jenna said, her voice trembling slightly. People were talking about shady arrangements, illegal contracts. And I heard Lauren's name tied to those discussions. Alex felt nausea splay through him. The very mention of Lauren set off 1,000 alarms in his head. What kind of contracts? Tension radiated from Jenna's frame as she leaned in closer. I don't know all the details, but it sounded like a plan to sabotage you, make you look incompetent. They're playing hardball. Maria's eyes widened as she registered the implications. But why? What would that achieve for her? Control, Alex interjected, every instinct flaring to life, feeding off the lure of betrayal he lived so often. She'd want to manipulate me or drive a wedge between my daughter and me. Exactly. Jenna nodded, her voice firmer now as the urgency seeped through. They think you're a threat. If they bring you down, it'd clear the way for them. The shock weighed heavier in the silence that followed. Alex felt like he was on the edge of a cliff, the ground crumbling below him. He shot a glance at Maria, her face a mix of concern and determination. So what's our next move? He asked, trying to anchor himself in this spiraling whirlwind. I thought you'd want to know the truth before you meet her tomorrow. But we need to be careful, Jenna urged, her eyes flickering to the door. I don't trust anyone right now. Agreed, Alex replied, his fists clenching. I can't let her pull me into her games. But if she's involved in something illegal, his voice trailed off, the implications nipping at his thoughts. Maria reached out and squeezed his arm, a comforting gesture grounding him amid the storm. I won't let you face this alone. Whatever happens, we'll figure it out together. A spark of hope ignited in the dark corners of his mind. But that faint glow was dimmed by the gravity of the situation. I'm not sure how to play this, he admitted, frustration gnawing at him. We'll get smart. We'll gather intel, maybe even use her own game against her, Jenna suggested, visibly gaining confidence. But we have to act quickly before she realizes we're onto her. Alex nodded, the gears turning chaotically in his head as possibilities flashed before him. Okay, I'll confront her at dinner. And while I do that, we'll keep digging. Just be careful, Alex, Maria reminded softly. She'll do anything to maintain power. As they prepared for what lay ahead, the tension coiled tighter, wrapping them all in a web of deceit. But beyond it flickered the golden thread of possibility, the chance to reclaim control of his life and protect his daughter. The loud crash echoed from the back of the house, startling them all. Heart racing, Alex turned toward the sound, horror gripping him as he processed the implications. Was that? Maria began, but the words hung heavy in the air, thick with dread. Less than a few feet away, the shadows seemed to deepen, and Alex felt the looming threat of the night closing in. Who else was watching? What new danger had just breached the sanctity of his home? The din of the crash echoed ominously, reverberating through the tense silence like a bell tolling. Alex's heart raced a furious tempo, pounding against his ribcage. He shot a glance at Maria, who stood frozen, her eyes wide with fear. What was that? Jenna whispered, her voice barely containing the tremor that betrayed her anxiety. I don't know, but we need to check it out, Alex replied, guilt and adrenaline mixing as he scanned the darkness behind the kitchen door. Against his better judgment, he moved forward, his body instinctively hunched and tense. Maria followed closely, a protective instinct blooming within her. As they stepped carefully toward the back of the house, the kitchen lights flickered. Alex could taste the metallic tang of panic in the air. He reached for the handle of the door leading to the backyard, his fingers shaking as he grasped it. On three, he whispered, turning his head slightly to Maria, her face a mask of determination. 1, 2. He swung open the door with a burst of resolve, his pulse quickening in rhythm with his racing thoughts. The sight that greeted him sent chills crawling up his spine. That a broken patio chair lay in a heap on the ground. Nearby, fragments of clay flower pots were strewn like tiny, shattered memories. But it wasn't the debris that stole his breath. It was the silhouette creeping at the edge of yard, half hidden in shadow. The shapes of two figures shifted seemingly just out of reach. Hey! Alex shouted, his voice slicing through the night air. Who is there? Maria gasped, taking a hesitant step back, and Jenna instinctively grasped the counter behind her for support. The figures stopped dead, the night shifting like a predator holding its breath. Silence enveloped them, heavy and thick, punctuated only by the distant sound of a stray dog barking a few blocks away. Then one of the silhouettes broke free from the shadows, stepping forward into the dim light of the back porch. Alex squinted, recognition dawning but quickly morphing into confusion. It was Lauren. What are you doing here? He demanded, jolting backward slightly as the sight of her pushed back the nausea swirling in his stomach. We were supposed to meet tomorrow. Things changed, she replied, her voice smooth yet embedded with an urgency that unnerved him. I had to come. You don't understand what is happening. They're coming after you. Who? Alex stepped toward her, each word laced with desperation. What do you mean? There's no time. Not here, she insisted, glancing nervously toward the darkened corners of the yard. We need to leave. Now. They know you're onto them. Before he could respond, a low rumble filled the air, a sound more menacing than thunder. Shadows shifted behind her, growing bolder. Jenna had stumbled back, her face pale. This isn't good, Alex, she breathed. We need to call the police. Don't. Lauren interrupted sharply, her eyes racing between them, panic nearly spilling over. They're in the system, too. It's not safe to involve anyone outside of this house. A knot tightened in Alex's chest. He turned to Maria, her eyes reflecting fear and doubt. He could feel the weight of her gaze digging into him. We can't trust her, she whispered, her voice quaking. Around them, the night felt alive, teetering on the edge of chaos. Please, you have to trust me. Lauren's voice cracked slightly, the bravado slipping for just a moment. I'm trying to help you. But as the last piece of her plea hung in the air, Alex felt the ground shift beneath him. His mind raced, thoughts colliding like a storm. He could sense the danger closing in, something lurking just beyond the edge of their reality. And then, from the shadows, a figure stepped forward, revealing a man shrouded in darkness. A smirk split his face just enough to reveal the danger simmering beneath the surface. Going somewhere? He drawled, eyes gleaming with malice. Alex's heart sank. This night was only beginning to unravel. What had they stumbled into, and was there any way out? Alex's breath hitched, caught in his throat like a fish flopping on dry land. The man before him, exuding an air of icy confidence, stepped into the light. His silhouette sharpened, revealing slicked back hair and a tailored suit that seemed out of place in the dilapidated backyard. It was like a dark omen. "Get away from her," Maria shouted, stepping in front of Lauren, fists clenched tight. Her protective instinct surged, but Alex could see the tremor in her knees. "Who are you?" Alex demanded, the words coming out harsher than intended, fueled by fear and indignation. The man chuckled softly, like he was humoring a child. "You don't need to know my name. Let us just say I'm here to deliver a message. And who better to deliver it to than the great Alex? What do you want from us?" Jenna's voice cracked, but there was an edge of defiance there. The stranger's gaze flicked to her, then back to Alex, suddenly serious. "What I want." He leaned closer, as if sharing a secret. "You're in over your head. You have no idea what you've stumbled into." His eyes darkened. "There's a war brewing, and you're the target. Is this some sort of joke?" Alex replied, nerves fraying faster than he could process. "Far from it, my friend." The man straightened, assessing the three teens standing before him, the glimmer in his eyes both predatory and captivating. "I can't let you leave until we've had a little chat." "Why should we talk to you?" Maria spat, every inch of her exuding fiery protectiveness for Alex and the others. "Because," the man said, his voice low and lethal, "if you don't, I might just start breaking a few bones. Starting with Lauren, of course." Lauren stiffened beside Alex, a flicker of vulnerability crossing her face that clawed at his insides. "No," Alex shouted, stepping forward. "You leave her out of this." The man smirked, glancing back toward where shadows wavered. "It's not my choice." Suddenly, another figure joined the man, a larger silhouette, as if the darkness was molding itself into something more formidable. The newcomer had broad shoulders and a hefty frame, stepping into the glow with a gaze filled with menace. Alex's heart raced, fear twisted in the pit of his stomach. "Let us not waste time," the first man said, his voice dripping with smug anticipation. "I'm here to make you an offer. You have something we want, and instead of fighting, it'd be better to talk it out." Alex's mind reeled, spiraling in panic. The stakes were rising, and he felt a new weight pressing down on his shoulders. "What do you want from me?" he asked, swallowing hard. The man smiled slickly, leaning against the porch rail, arms crossed. "Just a little piece of information, and perhaps your cooperation. After all, the clock is ticking, and I can assure you, my boss is not a patient man." Around them, the distant dog continued to bark, the only sound breaking the oppressive tension in the air. Lauren's gaze darted toward Alex, their connection deep and frantic. He could sense the gravity of the situation, the desperate need for answers entwined with an ever-growing dread. "Think carefully, Alex. Your next move may be the most important one you'll ever make," the stranger warned. Alex felt the pressure building inside him, thoughts colliding like a storm. He needed to protect his friends, but how? In that moment, a chilling wind whipped through the yard, and the shadows seemed to shudder, as though alive and aware of the menace closing in. Dread pulled in Alex's stomach. He had to choose. Would the truth free him, or lead them deeper into danger? There was no turning back now. The words hung in the air like smoke, thick and suffocating. Every heartbeat thundered in Alex's ears as he searched for the right thing to say, the right course of action. He could feel the weight of Maria's gaze, her fierce determination blending with a tinge of fear. Lauren stood closer, her breath shallow, eyes wide, and locked onto Alex like he was her only lifeline. "Alex," Lauren whispered, her voice barely carrying through the tense night. "Shut it, kid," the larger man barked, framing the threat within his broad shoulders as he advanced a step. A steady hum of danger vibrated in the air around them. "Listen," Alex managed, desperate to keep the tension from spiraling out of control. "If you want information, just what?" The slick man interrupted, amusement dancing in his expression. "You think you can bargain with me? You have no leverage here. The fate of your little group rests squarely in my hands. So let us make this simple." Outside of the cocoon of fear, the night continued its indifferent march, crickets chirping, the trembling moon peeking through wisps of clouds. Alex's mind raced. What could he possibly have that mattered? "What does your boss want with me?" The man leaned in closer, breath chilling Alex's face. "You're missing the bigger picture, aren't you? We want the location. The last known whereabouts of the package." "Package?" Jenna interjected, her voice rising defiantly. "What are you talking about?" The man chuckled darkly, a slow smile spreading across his face. I suppose it's good you're not in the know. It means you won't see what's coming. My boss is very interested in a certain object you guys stumbled upon. And if you're smart, you'll tell me where it is. A wave of icy realization crashed over Alex. Were they referencing the old story the group found documented in their last adventure? The rumor of treasure? The legend had seemed harmless, a joke shared over casual meals. He began to feel like everything shifted subtly, revealing layers of danger he had never anticipated. The rumors had teeth after all. I don't have it, Alex shouted, the desperation clawing at him. Whatever you think we know, we don't. Liar, the man hissed, on the verge of losing patience. Now, we can either do this the easy way or the hard way. His gaze shifted to Lauren, and he feigned innocence. But I'd hate to be the reason someone ends up in a hospital bed, wouldn't you? Maria stepped forward, nearly mirroring Alex's previous move. You leave her out of it. The man's eyes glinted, filled with cruel excitement. I want to have to break her bones. She'll crack like the rest of you once the night draws on. Tell me where it is, but before Alex could respond, a shrill scream erupted from the far corner of the yard, shattering the night's tense spell. A flash of movement, a figure darting into view, cloaked in shadow. Get down, Alex shouted, instinct kicking in an instant. Chaos erupted. The stranger and his henchmen spun to face the new threat. Shadows danced, and fear took hold. Someone moved in the darkness, and the realization hit them. It was approaching fast, ready to spill blood or secrets. Alex's heart raced. Who or what was coming for them now? Would it provide salvation, or would it hand their enemies the advantage they so desperately needed to escape? The figure emerged from the shadows like a harbinger of chaos. It wasn't just a person, this was someone with purpose, lunging forward, eyes lit with determination. Seconds felt like hours as the group clung to the razor's edge of fright and hope. Who are you? The slick man growled, his bravado cracking like ice in the sun. Let them go, the newcomer shouted, a voice full of fierceness that seemed to momentarily put distance between the tension and them. It was a woman, tall and commanding with a wild mane of hair, but Alex couldn't focus on her details. The man's interest shifted, revealing a moment of vulnerability that told Alex they were all caught in an unseen web of danger. The henchman sidestepped warily, positioning himself between the threat and his employer. What do you want? He barked, brandishing his weapon, tension nodding in the air. Release them, or you're going to regret it, she replied, her tone steady, unwavering. Something in her stance suggested she wouldn't just be asking. Regrets? You think you can intimidate me? The man's laughter echoed, but it wavered under the weight of doubt. For an instant, he looked ready to dismiss her. Then he seemed to reconsider, sensing the fierceness beneath her bold words. A heartbeat passed. Then another shrill scream cut through the yard, a chilling signal that sent a shiver through all present. Maria instinctively clutched Lauren, pulling her protectively closer. Get out of here, the woman yelled, her expression fierce. Now, without thinking, Alex slunk back, instinct driving him before even the command clicked fully in his mind. He grabbed Lauren's arm, pulling as panic surged through him. Maria did the same with Jenna. But the slick man wasn't done, turning his attention back to Alex. You think your little escape plan will work? I'll chase you down, the woman lunged forward, cutting off the man's threats with abrupt ferocity. Alex was stunned. Who was she, and why did she care? The clamor of footsteps broke the night. More shadows started emerging from the edges, creating a perimeter of unease around them. Stay together, Alex yelled, his grip tightening on Lauren as if that could keep them all from falling apart. But just as the chaos crackled to life, tension snapped. A gun fired loud and echoing like a bolt of lightning striking the ground. Alex watched as the henchman staggered, his weapon clattering to the grass. The woman hadn't hesitated. She dove forward, moving like a bullet fired from the barrel. But Alex's heart pounded for different reasons. The stakes had risen too high. Go, now, she barked again, this time with urgency that turned his feet into lead. Instinct told him to run. Just as he turned toward the darkness, another gunshot followed, and he felt it swift and cold like ice in his gut. 1,000 thoughts paraded through his mind, but regret and fear battled him as he glanced back at the woman. Her focus was sharp, but she glanced behind, and for that second, their eyes met. Alex's heart soared. Could this stranger be their savior? Move, she shouted. Without realizing it, he had lingered. Yet it wasn't just her voice that captured him, it was the determination burning in her eyes, a spark that ignited more than just survival, but a flicker of hope. The darkness before them opened like a mouth hungry to swallow them whole. But somehow, Alex was ready to leap into the unknown. He led his friends forward, away from the chaos. They raced toward safety or whatever lay ahead, the fear melding into a sense of possibility. But then Alex paused again. The woman was not following. "What are you doing? Come on," he shouted, desperate. "Get out. I'll hold them off," she called, a challenge echoing in her voice, determined and raw. "Are you crazy?" he screamed back, nearly pleading. The ground shook beneath them as footsteps echoed louder behind him, shadows closing in. Just as fear started to claw at him, she yelled, "Do you trust me?" Her eyes shimmered with intensity. He didn't have time to think. Heart racing, he turned back to the gathering darkness, pulse pounding in his ears. Trust her? Would he follow her lead into the churning unknown? They couldn't afford to hesitate. As they fled, a surge of uncertainty washed over him. What had they stumbled into? What lay waiting just beyond the veil of shadows? In the wild night, they ran, but was the chase only just beginning? Alex surged forward, adrenaline coursing through his veins. The chilling sound of footsteps behind them resonated like a cruel drumbeat, urging him to run faster. He felt Lauren tugging at him, her grip like a lifeline amidst the chaos. Panic flashed across her face, mirroring the dread that twisted in his gut. "Keep moving," he urged, his voice strained. Maria and Jenna were right behind them, breathless and scared, each step echoing the urgency of their escape. Shadows from the trees loomed behind, hungry specters closing in. The woman's defiance lingered in Alex's mind. "Do you trust me?" Those words half glowed in his thoughts, igniting something deep inside. He wanted to believe, but he couldn't shake the fear that she might be left behind alone and fighting against the tide of danger. "Where are we going?" Maria gasped, her voice tight with fear. "I don't know," Alex admitted, his heart racing as they darted into an alley, the walls towering like sentinels above them. A part of him longed for the static mundanity of his life before this night, a night that felt as if it were tearing him apart. "Focus, Al," Jenna urged, her voice fierce despite her pallor. "We have to get away." He nodded, gritting his teeth. The wailing sound of sirens rippled through the night, cutting through the haze of panic surrounding them. Suddenly, a loud crash interrupted the moment. Something heavy fell behind them, shaking the ground. Alex turned, instincts driving him to look back. A figure stumbled into view, a blur of motion and menace. The slick man. He was back on his feet, fury etched on his face, eyes sparking with violent determination. "Oh no, no, no," Alex gasped. They had to move, had to get out before that wrath caught up to them. "Here." Lauren pointed to a narrow gap between two buildings. Without hesitation, Alex shoved them through, squeezing into the dark crevice. The space felt claustrophobic as they huddled together, hearts racing. Alex pressed his back against the damp, cold brick, straining to hear the footsteps the way a prey might listen for a predator. "Do we know if we lost him?" Maria whispered, peeking out into the darkness, her eyes wide and vulnerable. "I don't," Alex began, but his words shattered when a hefty shadow fell across the entrance. "Did you really think you could escape me?" The slick man's voice slithered through the air, dripping with sinister glee. Panic exploded in Alex's chest. "Get down," he hissed as the man brandished a flashlight, the beam slicing through the night like a jagged blade. They huddled low just as the light skimmed their hiding spot. He could feel the heat of the beam soaring over them, scraping against his skin and sending chills down his spine. "Damn kids," the man spat, his voice laced with malice. "You think this is over? Scattered like dust? I'll find you." Breath trapped in his throat, Alex felt the world around him shrinking. If they didn't find a way out soon, they might not see another day. The weight of fear pressed down so hard it was almost suffocating. Yet, just then, a rustle sounded from the far end of the alley. A figure appeared, darting towards them. It was the woman. She slid into their hiding space, her silhouette blending into the shadows, eyes blazing. "I told you to run," she growled, breathless but fierce. Are you insane? Alex shot back, frustration and relief colliding like a storm. But there was no time for argument. The man's voice turned frenzied. I know you're in there. You're not getting away from me. With a fierce glint in her eye, the woman turned to the rest of them. What is next? We can't wait here. In that moment of desperation, Alex made a snap decision. We fight, he declared. Together. The weight of realization settled on him. This was a battle for their lives. They would have to unify their strengths. But what if it all fell apart? As they whispered their desperate plans, the sound of approaching footsteps grew louder again, a chilling reminder that the fight was just beginning. Would they be ready to face the danger that loomed outside? The woman's gaze locked onto Alex's. An unsaid promise hanging in the air. For the first time tonight, he saw not only hope, but a flicker of something more, a bond forged in the fire of fear. But before he could voice the thoughts swirling in his mind, the slick man's laughter echoed in the alley. Come out, come out. I've got something special planned for all of you. Alex clenched his fists, adrenaline spiking. This would be the moment that defined them all. As the walls started to close in, he wondered, would their unity be enough to forge a path through the darkness? And who else would be caught in the slipstream of chaos? The chaos swirled like a tornado, dark clouds closing in around them. Alex felt the adrenaline coursing through his veins as he prepared for battle. We have to stick together, he urged, every fiber of his being urging them forward. The woman beside him, his unexpected ally, nodded, her determination fierce. They stood shoulder to shoulder, each of them a flickering candle against the encroaching storm. Alex locked eyes with her, recognition igniting. They were in this together. The slick man's voice, oily and taunting, sliced through the night. You think you can fight me? You're just kids playing at war. But Alex felt a fire awaken within him, the need to protect Maria, Lauren, and Jenna sparking a fierce bravery. Let us show him what we're made of, Alex said, his voice steady despite the chaos around them. Jenna stepped forward, her fear transformed into courage. We'll outsmart him, she declared, glancing at the woman. What is your plan? Distract him, the woman replied swiftly. I'll deal with him head on. You all stay low and find an exit. Are you sure? Maria interjected, her voice trembling, but the fierce glint in the woman's eyes held no room for doubt. Trust me, she said with conviction, just as the shadows shifted before them again. As if sensing their resolve, the slick man stepped back, a smirk playing on his lips. I was hoping you'd put up some fight. It makes this all the more entertaining. Without waiting for the others, Alex rushed forward. We're not afraid of you, he shouted, unleashing the pent-up tension. He rushed to grab a sturdy stick from the ground, brandishing it like a weapon. Maria and Jenna joined him, adrenaline taking over, confidence blooming in their hearts. They blocked the alley's light, their silhouettes firm and united as they prepared for the inevitable confrontation. The woman squared her shoulders, eyes piercing. Let us end this. The slick man laughed, the sound reverberating through the alley like a chilling warning. He lunged toward the command center of the group, an instinct kicked in. Now, Alex shouted, channeling the very essence of adrenaline. They all pounced forward, hearts thundering in their chests. The moment unfolded like a blur. Chaos erupted, shadows dancing as the light mingled with their fears. They pushed against the darkness, spurred on by a shared determination. Each blow they struck felt electric. Each scream released the weight they carried. Alex was locked in a fierce struggle with the slick man, adrenaline pulsing through him. Fear gripped him hard and tight, but alongside the fear was a tidal wave of defiance. The slick man sneered, his power receding as Alex fought back with every ounce of will he possessed. Foolish child, the man spat, but his bravado faltered under the weight of the pounding fists. As the woman faced the larger henchman, her movements were fluid and fierce. She dodged his attacks with precision and agility, the determination radiating off her. Alex's heart swelled with admiration and worry. Would she be all right? Would they all get out alive? Darkness consumed them, but there was something ethereal blossoming, the fire of unity lighting their path. Suddenly, a cacophony erupted. The police sirens blared in the distance, cutting through the shadows like a beacon of hope. Hold on, Maria shouted, sensing the shift. Help is coming. Frustration etched itself across the slick man's face as he realized the tide was turning. This isn't over. he barked, retreating into the shadows just as the first light of police flashlights pierced the alley. The woman shouted, "Run!" And without a second thought, they fled deeper into the alley's embrace, Jenna leading the way. The moment they reached an exit into the street, flashing blue lights flooded the scene. Officers jumped out, taking firm stances, ready for action. They made it out together. "We're safe." Alex breathed heavily, the weight of fear lifting. As the officers moved in, Alex turned to the woman who had risked everything, who fought by his side. Their eyes met, and in that moment, something unspoken sparked. Between them a connection forged in chaos. "Thank you," he said, awe evident in his voice. "You have no idea what's coming," she replied, concern creeping back into her expression. "We're not done yet." But there was a twinkle in her eye, flooded with resolve. "But now, you're not alone." As the police began questioning them, capturing their adrenaline-laden accounts, Alex felt emboldened. He had faced darkness but emerged stronger. Maria shot him a glance. Her smile warmed despite the chaos. "Looks like we made a pretty good team." "Huh?" "Yeah." Alex chuckled, a profound relief washing over him as he surveyed his friends' family. "Now we face whatever comes next together." As night shifted to dawn, the first rays of sun began to chase away the darkness that had clung to them. A new day beckoned, carrying with it promises of hope and connection. Standing together in that moment, they realized they were not just survivors, they were warriors. They had each other, and whatever battles would arise, they would face them together, united against the storm. The end of one chapter, and the promise of many more to come. Now is your moment. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that are coming your way. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and keep these stories coming. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. I want to hear from each of you. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support is what makes this community strong. Let us keep this adventure alive together.